Welcome to the Biz Doctor Podcast, my love letter to business owners the world over. I'm your host, Lauren Goldstein, award-winning business consultant and advisor fondly nicknamed the Biz Doctor by my clients. I help business owners who are burning the candle at both ends diagnose what is actually keeping them buried in the day-to-day busy work, and then formulate a treatment plan to adjust their business and team to fit them, so they can take a breath and a vacation and have more fun making a bigger impact than ever. So grab your favorite beverage and your earbuds and let's dive into our latest episode. Do you have someone in your team that is a rock star and you keep going back and forth on if you should promote them into a leadership position or not, weighing the pros and cons while also secretly worrying that you might be promoting a high-performing team member to their detriment? Well, you aren't alone, and this is the very subject I'm going to dive into today. Welcome back to the Biz Doctor Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Goldstein, and today I want to talk about how you can internally promote someone the right way to ensure more success, team harmony, and effectiveness. I want to first kick us off with a client story to illustrate how necessary it is to get this right. So not long ago, I did a diagnostic deep dive plus for one of my clients to really dig into what was working and what wasn't in their business and their team. So I set up one-on-one meetings with their leaders to see what they had to say about the company and their role. One person stood out in particular. He was a manager of a big department that had the biggest impact on the business's bottom line. And after a few key questions, it was clear to me that he was in way over his head. So I got curious. I started asking him how he got into this position and what that journey was like. I was not surprised when he said he was just told one day that he was going to do it, even though he had no management experience and quite frankly, didn't want to lead, but he felt he had to say yes, otherwise his job would be in jeopardy. Another red flag I will talk about in a minute. The other really concerning part of the story is this employee was so buried and worried about losing his job that he actually was subconsciously sabotaging his business, or rather my client's business, by not asking for support, lest he look like he was not able to do the job. Spoiler alert, he wasn't able to do the job and he was just making everything worse. It wasn't a big surprise to me that this team member was not performing and actually bringing the team down with him. But it was a surprise to some of the leadership. They thought he was qualified because he was crushing his prior role, which to me signals one of the biggest mistakes business owners make when it comes to promotion. Promoting high performers just because they're excelling at their role. As you know, leadership takes finesse, diplomacy, and being able to inspire others to their best self. It is not for everyone, and I have seen it bite the business in the butt more times than I can count. What is worse is when you promote someone out of a role they are excelling at into a role they feel that they are failing in. It breeds resentment, and that is the kiss of death and cancer to a team. So while you might have been well-meaning, everybody loses in this situation. The same was true for this employee. He was mad and resentful towards the business for putting him in this position. But here's the kicker. Instead of speaking up, he was just seething and breeding resentment, which I knew meant he had to go. So when we collectively decided to let this employee go and did some digging and a post-mortem, we quickly realized that his promotion 8 months before I came in resulted in $2 million in losses in the business. Yes, I said $2 million. I won't go into the specifics, but suffice to say that by recognizing a leader that was not a fit, drowning and subconsciously sabotaging his role, department, and the business, stopped a carotid bleed in the business. So I share all of this with you because it so could have easily been avoided. Like, that's the thing with promotion. You don't always have to promote your high performers. In fact, most often I tell you not to. But if you take a moment and proactively really think through this, you can stop a lot of what happened in this role from happening, especially in your business. And hopefully you can see as an example of why it's so important. So let's talk about some steps you can take to make sure you have the right leaders in the right seats. So first, this is the question I ask anyone before I even consider promoting them into leadership. It's a 3-part question, and they have to answer yes to every question. Otherwise, I'm an immediate no. So the first question is, do you know what you need to do to be successful in your role? The second question is, do you know what someone else needs to do to be successful in their role? And the third question, do you feel comfortable telling someone else what they need to do to be successful in their role? Again, if they answer no to any of those questions, they are immediately out of the running. I will not be promoting them into any sort of leadership position. Only if they answer yes to all of them do I even consider sending them through the gauntlet. I want to take and pause for a minute about why that is. So first and foremost, there are top performers that absolutely know how to crush their role, but if they don't know what someone else needs to do, and they're certainly not willing to have a tough conversation to tell somebody, they're just not cut out for leadership, or they're just really happy being a top performer, and that's okay. But in order for them to succeed as a leader, they have to know what they get to do to be successful, what someone else gets to do, and be willing to have the uncomfortable conversations, because that's what leadership sometimes entails, is having those conversations about accountability and getting back on track. And the second thing is I want to talk about the employee that I mentioned earlier and how he felt he couldn't say no. So don't make their job security a factor if they say no. And this is so, so important. If you make this a factor, you're going to make your employee feel like they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Or if they say they don't want the promotion, that they're going to be blackballed. And that creates a lose-lose situation. They should always have the free will to say, thank you so much for this generous offer, but I want to stay here and keep exceeding expectations. Because the fact is, in your business, and this is feedback for you, but in your business, you should have an ability for people to grow and promote in the company without being leaders. Like a lot of times we think that promotion is just into leadership or management. And sure, it can be, but it could also just be they get more responsibility in their role. So maybe they have more accounts, or maybe they're more customer facing than they used to be. Who knows? Obviously, it's specific for each business, but it's important to have both management tracks as well as just pure growth tracks. Before we dive into the next bit, I want to take a second to share with you something that I've seen drastically change businesses and teams for the better. Imagine waking up every morning with a team that knows exactly what is expected of them and how to achieve success without you having to micromanage them. Imagine how much time and dollars you will save by hiring the right team member from the start. Not to mention getting the most out of every current member of your team. That is what's possible with our tried and tested tool, the Golden Key Scorecard. The scorecard is a simple, impactful, and fillable tool for managing your team, ditching inefficiency, and I guarantee will help you stop playing whack-a-mole chasing team docs all over the place. It's as easy as filling out a form. If you want to get out from under your business, shifting from business operator to business owner, and take your business to the next level while reclaiming your time, then our Golden Key Scorecard is just the ticket. Our scorecard provides the time-tested framework and process to get you and your team out of the weeds and into a well-oiled machine that can scale without you. It's time for you to run your business instead of the other way around. Become an expert in this critical piece of the foundation to creating a high-performing team. Download the Golden Key Scorecard for free at goldenkeypartnership.com/go. Now back to the show. So now I want to talk about the other thing that I really saw with my client's employee. He told me there was no interview process, there was no nothing. He was just plopped into this position. Now that you've asked the big three to see if they're set up for success in the role, and you've asked them if they want the role, then you can really start sending them through the gauntlet. And yes, I am using gauntlet for a reason here, because the one thing I see far too often is promoting without a process to determine if they are really going to be successful in the role. So often I see business owners who promote with the flick of a pen, like I shared before, rather than treating it like the important process that it is. So here are my recommendations. Treat this promotion role just like you would if you had an external candidate. Scratch that. Treat it more seriously than if you had an external candidate, because it's important to mitigate what I call the ruffled feathers ripple. This is when you promote a peer to a manager and you fail to ask the team if they think the person would be a good manager and get their buy-in. Now, I'm not saying that you only promote when the whole team is a hell yes. I mean, there might be some people that just don't like other people. We are all human. But trust me, you want to know what you're walking into with clear eyes. And it's much easier to have a leader who's backed by their team than not. Okay, so back to this internal hiring process. Here are my suggestions. First and foremost, fill out the role scorecard so you know exactly how this role is fitting in, what's it accountable to, the traits they need to be successful, etc. I know you guys hear me talk about the scorecard a lot, and it's because it's such an effective tool for making sure that you have all the clarity you need to help someone be successful in the role. I'll drop it in the show notes. The point here is you need to be crystal clear on who is going to thrive in this role so you know who won't. You can also consider having a few outside applicants go through the process as well so you can make sure that you have the right person for this role. And if you do this, I recommend, our hiring made simple process so you can save time and money. Third, have your employees submit a Loom video to leadership about why they want this promotion, what makes them uniquely qualified for it, and how their leadership is going to help the business move forward. Again, you want a player in this position, so seeing their plan and having them sell you on why they want this and they are the best is key. I'm going to just reiterate this one thing. It does not serve anyone to try and sell somebody on being a leader. You want people who are proactively asking you for leadership, showing leadership, or who are trying to sell you on why they would be a good leader. Because again, leadership is not for everyone. So you want to really make sure you have the right person here. 4, have them come in for an interview with their boss, as well as a few key members of the team that they will be working closely with. It could either be their subordinates, it could be other department heads. The choice is up to you. But remember that this just isn't about leadership. It's about diplomacy across the teams, because if a team leader is struggling to work with other teams, the businesses will suffer and silos will start forming. And that creates all sorts of friction and chaos. And I do not recommend. Last but not least, do a reference check. But this is a twist on a reference check. Have them give you 4 to 5 people that they have led or worked with within your business or outside, depending on the size of your team. You might not have that many. Ask those people that they give you what it was like to have that person lead. What worked, what didn't, would they recommend them for a leadership position? Asking a question of what is it that I need to know that I don't know? You can essentially look for those red flags. Again, this is to enable you to rate the impact that promoting someone out of their peers may or may not have on the team. All in all, I love promoting from within because it does create a culture of excellence and rewarding leadership. And this is my favorite part, it preserves institutional knowledge. That being said, I also know it can have its pitfalls. So my hope is that today's episode will help you avoid those pitfalls and give you a way to objectively see if the internal person is the best person for the role or not. And if not, it gives you the best foundation to expand your search. Now, the last caveat I will leave you with is, do you remember how I was talking about the ruffled feather ripple? This also does occur sometimes when you bring in someone from the outside and people go, well, why wasn't I asked to be that person? Or I could do their job. It is so important to help the team understand why you chose this person, how it's going to help the team collectively, how it's going to be a win-win, and make sure to have those conversations one-on-one with anybody that you envision might have some ruffled feathers or feel like their toes were being stepped on. All right, that's it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for listening in. If anything I shared sparked something in you, I'd love for you to share this episode with your friends. I'd also love to hear from you. So let's connect. Tag or DM me on Instagram at It's Lauren Goldstein or LinkedIn, wherever you hang out on the interwebs. Also, don't forget to subscribe so that you are the first to get notified when our next episode is live and ready for your ears. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time. Thank you for listening to the Biz Doctor Podcast. Now, I like to say that friends don't let friends WebMD your business. So if you're wondering what your next steps could be, here are some options for you. No matter what, head to the show notes or to my website, goldenkeypartnership.com, for some impactful resources to support you getting out from under your business. That's also where you'll find the links to learn more about our services and how we support business owners, just like you, who are ready to make the successful jump from business operator in the trenches to visionary business owner with more freedom and flexibility. All of that info is on our website, so pop on over to learn more or get in touch. goldenkeypartnership.com. Finally, if you love the Biz Doctor podcast, I'd be so grateful if you would share it with your friends and network and give us a 5-star rating or review wherever you listen to your podcast.
This is Story Studio Network.